What's up, Trojans? I thought I was a little negative in my last video, so I'm really happy I get to make this video where I'm very positive as Schoen is back making good moves again. Happy with the two most recent moves, re-signing Saquon Barkley to that 1-year extension so he comes back to training camp, and re-signing Andrew Thomas. He's going to be with the team for the next 7 seasons now, and I am here for it. All right, that is one solid left tackle, and much like the Cowboys did with a guy named Tyrone Smith at left tackle, great idea to lock these offensive linemen up for the longest possible amount of time. I think he's going to be a Giant until he's like almost 30 now. This is amazing. And, you know, what the best part about offensive lineman positions is there could be contract negotiations again when he's I think it was 28 or 29. He'll be up for a contract again because it's the next 7 seasons. And he was young when the Giants drafted him too. So, hey, I'm very happy for Andrew Thomas, and I'm very glad he's going to be a Giant for the long future. Oh, gosh, it's amazing. But to a guy that, may not be a Giant for as long if Schoen does some nonsense again, Saquon Barkley, I am very glad Schoen reached out somewhat of an olive branch and gave a modified franchise tag to Saquon Barkley. I did not know this was legal. Honestly, I didn't know you could just modify the franchise tag and give him a bunch of money. I don't know why it wasn't $12 million then instead of $10 million, $11 million with incentives, but, whatever. I'm very glad that they were able to, change the terms of the franchise tag and make it so Saquon Barkley was willing to sign it. I knew Saquon Barkley wouldn't just turn down $10 million, right? Like, if you want money, you don't turn down $10 million. Like, that's just part of making money. Unless you really think turning down $10 million is going to make you $20 million, but with the running back market, that's not the case. So, yeah, I'm very glad Schoen was able to extend that tiny bit of an olive branch, and I'm happy that Saquon Barkley will be showing up at training camp, and this whole charade is over for this year, but specifically, it was negotiated that the Giants could franchise tag him next season. I'm sure it was specifically negotiated. I mean, I don't know for certain, but, there was no clause in that contract, from what I saw, that precluded the Giants from franchise tagging him next season. So, this whole thing is on the table again right after the season ends. Wonderful. Can't wait for all this drama to happen again. Oh, amazing. No, I would love it if during the bye week next season, Schoen comes around and offers Saquon Barkley an amazing contract, and he just immediately says yes, and we're happy for at least a few years. But, let me get into some specifics now. So, Saquon Barkley, it's just a modified franchise tag, so it's only for this season, and the difference is then the $10 million, or it was $10.1 million. The difference is Saquon Barkley can make up to $11 million if the Giants make the playoffs again, which I hope they do, and I think they will. So that one's basically a guarantee in my opinion. And Saquon Barkley has to have 1,150 rushing yards, which I think he had about that much last season, so he would have to do better than he did last year. And 11 touchdowns, which I think he had last season. And 11 touchdowns should be doable. So hopefully he gets that $300K. And it's $300K for each of the 3 things I'm listing. The playoff berth is a must-have for each of these options, according to Spot Track. And then he has to have 65 receptions, which one of the biggest things, he was on, I want to say the Money Matters podcast. And he said that one of the things the Giants came to him with was that they compared him to more, or he only implied this, but he implied that they compared him to a more like downhill running back, which is why after the bye week when they did some small, quick negotiations, you notice that against the Texans, Saquon Barkley carried the ball 40 times in that game against the Texans. That's because that's how the Giants more viewed him. So that $300K may be out of the realm of possibility more. The Giants have much more control over something like that than Saquon does, unfortunately. But I hope that happens. I hope the Giants use him more like a receiving back. And I'd be very happy if they do, because that's how he really excelled in 2018. He had a lot of rushing yards that year. He had a lot of touchdowns that year. And part of it was because he was catching the ball. And he was running routes for the Giants, too. There's a lot of amazing routes. You can get a running back to run and then just turn them into a running back while adding a reception. That was one of the amazing things Pat Shurmur did in 2018. And I really thought Pat Shurmur was amazing at running an offense. He just wasn't amazing at running the entire team. And that's what was a shame about Pat Shurmur. But anyway, so I would hope that, Kafka can, draw up nice plays for Saquon Barkley to play receiving back, and Brian Dable will let it happen. And Brian Dable, from the interview I saw most recently, seems to have no ill will toward the situation. He understands it. Joe Schoen said he understands it, but Joe Schoen is very plain fast and loose with some of the purse strings, but definitely not Saquon Barkley. Money faucet, but it's all good. I actually think Joe Schoen got a very good deal with Andrew Thomas. I definitely think Andrew Thomas is going to be underpaid in the next few years, because $23 million for a top-tier left tackle, sign me up for that. Are you kidding me? The salary cap's only going up, and $23 million for a top-tier left tackle, the guy that's stopping some of the best pass rushers in the league from touching Daniel Jones? Yes, please. This is amazing. And it works out great for Andrew Thomas, too, because it is the highest amount of guaranteed money for a left tackle in the NFL currently. Obviously, the next top-tier left tackle, anywhere near top 5 of a left tackle to get a contract is going to break that next time. But it's a good deal for Andrew Thomas, and it's a great deal for the Giants. I'm very happy Joe Schoen extended out negotiations to Andrew Thomas, and they were able to come up with this. I think it's an amazing deal, and the Giants benefit so much from it, and so does Andrew Thomas, just getting something done, getting something on the books. According to one interview, that I saw, he was basically like, yeah, I just wanted something done. You never know, injuries happen, and that is so true. That is one of the reasons Saquon Barkley wanted a long-term deal, but couldn't happen, because running backs are one of those positions where it's very likely to have an injury. Offensive line is one of those positions where it's mostly likely, but the last time Andrew Thomas was injured, it was only a few weeks out. He was able to come back. He wasn't playing great the entire time, but eventually he really got back into the swing of things and became the top-tier left tackle we know as Andrew Thomas. So, excellent deal for the Giants. I hope Andrew Thomas is very happy with it. He seemed happy with it. And, yeah, Andrew Thomas, top-tier left tackle. I'm really glad he's coming back to protect Daniel Jones and help out Saquon Barkley on that run game, you know what I mean? And, so I hope Saquon Barkley is content enough for the season. It seemed that way anyway, from the interview back I saw. Obviously, not happy about long-term negotiations, I'm sure. But I'm still not happy about it, honestly. Like, man, sign Saquon Barkley. You're throwing all this money around for everyone else, but when it comes to Saquon Barkley, we're going to battle to the death over $1 million. I stand by every single point I made in my last video. But very glad that, waters are much calmer with Saquon Barkley, and that Joe Schoen is extending these deals to guys like Andrew Thomas, who is, man, in 4 years, I think we're going to look at Andrew Thomas and be like, this man is criminally underpaid. I bet you the left tackles in 4 years are getting paid like almost $30 million, and we're like, we have the best one in the league, and we're paying him $23 million this year? Okay, sure, I'll take that every day. Like, what? This is insane. I'm very glad that this deal got done. Got done at the perfect time. We might even look at a deal like that with a guy like Dexter Lawrence, but I think currently Dexter Lawrence got market value. I think a guy like Daniel Jones may have been slightly overpaid, but, these things immediately become irrelevant once the guy does very well. And so I hope all of those guys do very well. And the contract we have to look forward to now is Xavier McKinney, the safety. The Giants don't have a great reputation for maintaining safeties, i.e. Landon Collins, Jabril Peppers. Those guys were let go for their own reasons. They they dealt with injuries, and they weren't necessarily the most productive in their most recent year with the Giants. So that is probably why they got let go. But those were, different times, different situations, different players. A lot of things were different in those situations. So hopefully Xavier McKinney this season is able to prove to the Giants that he's worth a solid market rate for a safety. And I hope the Giants and him are able to come to an agreement, because I think Xavier McKinney is great for this team. Obviously, getting injured during the bye week wasn't amazing for him. But hopefully, a guy like Xavier McKinney is able to play the full season, no injuries, really show what he's worth to the entire NFL, to a point where if him and the Giants can't make a deal, he's able to make a deal with another team. As bad as that would be, as long as he doesn't go to anyone in the NFC East, I'd be cool with it, The main issue I had with, like, James Bradbury leaving is he went straight to the Eagles. Like, bruh, the Chiefs could have used a corner too, and they won the Super Bowl. Like, you had options, my dude. You didn't have to lose a Super Bowl. But yeah, hopefully everything ultimately ends up working out. Very glad Saquon Barkley's coming back, and I'm glad that Schoen was able to modify the franchise tag. $2 million of it as a signing bonus to Saquon Barkley. That's awesome. Like, whatever you gotta do to modify that franchise tag, get Saquon Barkley back, and lock up Andrew Thomas long term. Andrew Thomas is an amazing left tackle. Multi-talented, too. Did you guys know he caught a touchdown pass in 2021? Like, this is amazing. This guy's awesome. He's a great guy for the team. He's a very soft-spoken guy. He's everything you want from a left tackle, basically. He's the ideal left tackle for the New York Giants. He's great. He's awesome. Very glad he's back for the long term. And, hopefully things ultimately work out with Saquon Barkley. Hopefully things work out with Xavier McKinney next year. And, all three of the guys I just mentioned, I think they're going to have great seasons this year. I think the Giants are going to have a great season this year. Everything is looking up for this team, and I'm very excited to see it. Anyway, that's all I got this time. I planned for this video to be about 5 minutes shorter, but it's all good. I got everything out that I needed. And, I'll see you guys in the next one.